How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're going to be going through episodes 7 and 8 of my series analysing the predicted lineups, and we're going to be going through the Roosters, the Eels, the Panthers, and the Storm. So, good chance this could be our top four too. So, it'll be interesting to see the makeup of our bench minutes and our forwards, and what kind of strong scores some of these backs can get in our squad. So, we're going to get started with the Roosters, guys. Please hit like if you enjoy this video, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. But the Roosters, we start with our backs, and this looks really set. A lot of people are talking about Suwali possibly coming in and taking a spot, but it's not going to happen. Like, who's he going to take in that back five? It's just impossible. He might get a chance on the bench, but he's not going to be scoring too well. You're going to have to wait for a bunch of injuries with someone like him. So, in terms of value in this back five, it'd only be Tedesco, and he's your top line wing fullback gun and someone who you'd want in your team at some point of the year. Question is just going to be, do you want him now? Are you going to be able to fit him now as one of your top line guns? And he will score well with a decent start to their season. So they've got three fairly easy games, you'd say, for the Roosters out of their first five. So for someone who's been a slower starter to the year, just the first few rounds, there's a good chance that he goes bonkers in these first few rounds and leaves a few people behind in the first few games. So someone interesting there. Lachie Lamb played well in the trials and should have his spot over Walker. Walker's really young and he should get a chance at some point in the year. You'd imagine through Origin or through an injury that Walker will come in. I think that's what they're going to wait for and give Lamb and Keary their chance to form a really good partnership and do well there. So Lamb's a great option for your team. Luke Keary is not. They've never really been fantasy relevant. Move along to Hargraves. You'd imagine he'd have big minutes, but I don't see any upside with him. Jake Friend. Verrills has been ruled out of the first round, and so has Victor Radley. So this team will be fairly well set for that first little bit, and possibly some changes after that. But if you look at Friend, his minutes have declined, and you want him to get 80 minutes to do well. He's not going to get that. Takiaho we've spoken about, and this one's going to be interesting in terms of the minutes on their bench. So you'd expect Tupanua and Crichton to be playing 80 or close to it. Isaac Liu somewhere around the 50-minute mark. So that leaves 30 minutes there. You'll have about 30 minutes for the bench guys from Hargraves. And I'd say Takiaho playing about 60 minutes would leave 20. All right, so you've got 80 minutes between these four guys on the bench with at 20 minutes each. You've got Hutchison, who, if he was to play, would be the utility, and he might not play at all, if not maybe 10 minutes. So 80 minutes between these guys. So you're looking at 25 to 30 minutes each. Collins and Butcher should play 30 plus, and then you've got, if this is going to be it, but Daniel Fafita, who might play a couple of minutes off the bench. But something to think about when people like Verrills come back, and also Radley as well, is that a few minutes from a couple of these other forwards may be lost, like a Takiaho. He might end up at a 55, a couple of minutes down. Hargraves might be down a little bit. Isaac Liu might not play as much. Just a few things to be thinking about. You might see Takiaho play bigger minutes and score really well in the first round or two while Radley's out, and then he might drop back a tiny bit. But just something to think about with this team. And there's not too much on that bench. We've spoken about Verrills, Walker, Radley, Suwali, Ikavalu as a catch up or a backup for the backs, but not too much else to talk about with the Roosters. A couple of fantasy relevant guys and a bunch that are kind of just going to do their job. Move on to the Eels. All right, their makeup. Their back five, you'd say, is set apart from Opacek. The rest of them are very much set and should score solidly. I wouldn't expect too much upside from some of these guys. Ferguson might have a tiny bit upside given the fact that he only scored a few tries last year. So yeah, a little bit there possibly in a decent side. Dylan Brown scored really well. I don't see much upside to him. Moses could move up a few points into becoming a top line gun, given the fact that they had a really hot start to the year and he scored amazingly, and then dropped it back a little bit when they started not playing as well. Campbell Gillard had some spurts last year where he played amazing, but I don't expect him to be your consistent top line gun, so I wouldn't be touching him. Reid Mane is just a step below our top guns in the hooking position. Junior Paulo, a bunch of people having in their team, but I don't see him improving on last year, and he's just below those top guns as well. Sean Lane, similar thing, just below the top guns in the edge, where Madison's your top line, one of your top line edge guys, and I'd expect him to score really well in this side. Nathan Brown, again, he should, at a minimum be scoring at his 54 average with a chance to get closer to 60 when he plays big minutes, which he should do again in this side, he tends to score at least 60 plus. And if you're looking at their bench, you've got Oregon Kafusi, who's a nice cheap guy who, let's have a look at what kind of minutes he's going to get. If Brown's going to be playing, let's say 60 at a minimum, Madison's an 80, Lane's an 80 for the most part. Paulo, Campbell Gillard are like 60-minute forwards. Let's say 55 to 60. That leaves 40, 60 minutes between some of the bench. Will Smith might come on for Reid Mane for a little bit, but 60 minutes between three guys. So it's like, are they going to get enough minutes? Isaiah Papali's played a decent amount of footy over at the Warriors. You know, which one of these guys is going to get 15 minutes? Which one of these guys is going to get 25 to 30? Is that going to be enough for someone like Kafusi to make money? I think if there's an injury, I think these kind of guys could make some money for you. But other than that, I think you've got to leave them out of your side at the moment with a few other decent options, but we'll have to wait till our team list to see them. And then you look at their bench, you've got Cartwright, who we don't want to talk about. Murata Nakore has done really well in the past when he comes on and plays some bigger minutes. So, and Keegan Hipgrave is at the Eels now. So a couple of names there that are interesting. And then you've got guys like Oldfield, Jordan Rankin to cover the backs. Yes, that's about all on the Eels side. We'll move on to Panthers. And so guys, just if you haven't liked yet, please do so. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. Panthers, we move on with Dylan Edwards. Don't think he has the upside. I think he's going to score exactly on that 50 average that he's got currently. Staines has a chance to have some upside, but to me, he is a little bit too highly priced for a winger at this stage to pick him up round one. If he's incredibly amazing and averages a 50 like a Mansell has in the past, then you can pick him up then. But currently priced at 33, you might only lose a little bit of money. So money lost in terms of missing out on a price rise, but then you could get him in, and if he ends up being a keeper, then that's fine. But if he could go the other way and average like a 25 to 30 and cook you. Momorowski's a really interesting one. And when he's played a decent amount of time in centre, he's averaged 43 and currently priced at the high 20s. He's a really interesting option for someone that has the upside with scores of 70 and 80 in some certain games. And when you move him into a Panthers side where he should get the spot for at least the first 4 weeks, with Naden being suspended by the club, so in club suspension, you should be able to see him have a good chance of scoring really well, and I think he should do that. Stephen Crichton is someone that I think requires a lot of tries, doesn't have the base stats, and he could improve again this year, but I only think maybe a few points of upside. Brian To'o becomes their big get-out-of-trouble guy and should get a lot of tackle breaks and base stats in terms of running meters from that. Jerome Luai has the chance to be 5 to 7 points undervalued if he scores similar to what he did at the back end of last year. I think he has that. Cleary is a really easy set and forget captaincy option. He just does everything on the park well, and being a young guy on the way up, he's still got a lot to prove for sure if he wants to create a really good legacy. And given the fact how New South Wales lost last year, these guys lost in the final, I think they've got a fair bit to prove, and Cleary will be that set and forget captaincy type for your team. Fisher Harris has spoken about, and we'll talk about the minutes for this bench and these forwards, but Fisher Harris said you're looking at around 60 minutes for him, which is very similar to what he did last year. Coruscant's an 80. If Moses Leota is going to start, we'd expect about 45 minutes. So that leaves 35, 55. Kickout plays, let's say, on average around 50 minutes. There's 85 minutes available. They've got Kurt Capewell here in the starting side for the predicted lineup. I think there's a good chance that Martin plays there, but we'll work out what kind of minutes both of them. I think they're going to play similar minutes in both of them. Thinking if Kurt Capewell gets a start and he gets close to 80 minutes, he averages over 50 and it is about 10 to 12 points undervalued there. Isaiah Yeo will be playing around 60 minutes as well. So if you can work that out here, there's a bunch of minutes to go around for these bench guys. When Tyrone May is going to come on as a utility, he may not play many minutes at all. You think of Eisenhuth, who comes over to the squad, and he's a bigger minute kind of lock forward type of player who might have to play some bigger minutes through the middle. Spencer Leniu only averaged 20 minutes a game last year, and then you've got Martin. So there's just over 100 minutes to spare between three guys. So it becomes really interesting. If someone like Leniu gets 30 to 35 minutes, he's going to be 10 points undervalued. Eisenhuth, is he going to get like that 40 minutes through the middle? Is Liam Martin going to get 60 minutes? Maybe Capewell and Martin both get 60 minutes so they can get them both on the park. Maybe they get on at the same time. Kikau comes off after 25 minutes. Martin comes on or Capewell comes on. And then when Kikau comes back onto that left edge a little bit later, maybe he spells one of the other forwards. So you can have 3 guys on there, and then maybe a forward pops on at the end for one of Martin or Capewell. Just some things to think about with those guys. But some really interesting options, and Capewell someone to keep in mind. Same with Leniu and Leota. We'll just have a look at what the team lists pop out as. Same with Momorowski. If he's getting that spot, I think he's a really decent option as well. So yeah, some really interesting options for the Panthers at this stage. And then you look to the bench, and there's not too much there. You got Sorensen, who's a backup edge who shouldn't be doing too much. Matt Burton's there to cover any injuries and would be a great player to bring into your side if that happened to come up. Robert Jennings is some cover for your backs. And that's about all for this team. We'll move on to the last one, guys, in the Melbourne Storm. And some interesting things have come out the last couple of days. And we'll go straight to that in terms of Harry Grant's he's ruled out for the first 3 weeks. So Brandon Smith moves into 9. He should be getting close to an 80-minute role in that side. The other one is Dale Finucane has got a torn calf, and he's going to be out for about the first 7 rounds. So you can see here that in their updated team list, they've put Nelson into the 13 role, which doesn't really make too much of a difference. What this is just going to mean is there's going to be more minutes to go around. And this shores up these types of positions for Smith, who did average 45 last year and probably has another 5 to 7 points in value to make up over those first few rounds. And then what's going to happen when Grant goes back? He should be moving somewhere to a 13, or you can see that they're a bit light on the bench now. They did have some big forwards coming off, and now they've just got Kamakamika. So I feel like he's going to be your big minute guy coming off the bench in terms of somewhere between 40 and 50. And if that's the case at a PPM of around 1, he's going to be really strong for your side and close to 10 points undervalued. The other interesting thing there is Bromwich, as he's going to be playing closer to the 45 to 50 minutes. Welsh is looking very safe for about a 60-minute role now. Kafusi close to 80. Kenny Bromwich close to 80. You've got Nelson, who'd be about 50. You've got Nico Hines coming on as a utility player. Chris Lewis and Tom Eisenhuth should be playing somewhere between 25 to 35 minutes each. And that would round out this team. And what you can see there is those kind of guys aren't going to be playing big minutes, which allows guys like Smith, Christian Welsh, Nelson to play bigger minutes and have a good role in this side. I just think now, if you're looking at someone like Welsh, he becomes a lot safer and much bigger chance of hitting that 50 average, being currently priced at 40, and will be able to do really well for your side. So yeah, and you look at their others on the back end there. You've got Lumi and George Jennings as your backup options, and Max King and these guys in the middle. So there's not too much to go in terms of their middles if they get a couple more injuries, and you'd expect some of these guys to have to play big minutes if there's another injury or two. But there you go, guys. That's those 4 teams all in one. Hope you take a lot out of this one, and only a few more days to team lists and round 1. So get excited, guys. As I said, join the Discord group. Send me your teams if you'd like to, and get in on our challenge of creating a great people's team. But anyway, guys, enjoy. See ya.